All right, here we are in Atlanta, Georgia, and where I'm at is just north of what's considered Midtown, and so we're in Buckhead. This is Buckhead, part of Atlanta. You have the Amtrak station right across from us here. To my left, you'll see many tall buildings. I don't know if you saw that, but let's do this. So, this area, some areas have changed a lot. Like a lot of old buildings have gone down and a lot of condos gone up. Even up until, I'd say about 10 years ago, there was actually a mansion down here that it was a really old mansion. It was so old that it had fireplaces on each side of the house. And they moved it. Over here are some great restaurants. You have a Persian and vegetarian. Our Thomas Grill Deluxe has been there for a long, long time. They have parrots out in cages year round that greet you as you come in. Here we have a new addition to Piedmont Hospital. This hospital is where my dad went to for decades. And it's become a massive, massive operation now. They're one of the best heart places in Atlanta. If you have any heart and vascular issues, they're great. Back behind us was the Bear Tavern, home of the Cubs. Now this is funny. I noticed up here on the right, kind of over this crane, I don't know if you can see it, there's a building that's a little taller here on the right, and that is now a luxury senior living. And I'm like, yeah, it's got to be luxury. You're right across from the hospital, so if you have any heart issues, hey, you're good. Now to the left also we have Shepherd Center, and if you live in the southeast and you have any kind of spinal injury, that is where you want to go. My dad actually had a friend from Nashville that ended up there because he became paralyzed and he left walking. They're just amazing. The rehab that they do and everything. They've done a lot of great work. And when my dad was in the hospital there, I'd wheel him over to visit his friend. So that was interesting and weird, and they enjoyed it because they liked each other's company quite a bit. And over here to the left, it used to be a little bit busier, a lot of furnishings and art, but I think a lot of that's kind of dying down. This whole area of Buckhead is changing. Benihana has been there forever. Gosh, I'm surprised they haven't torn that down. Have Cafe Sunflower to the left. They're a really good restaurant, high-end vegetarian food, and they serve a lot of different cuisines. I have Houston's over here to the left. A lot of restaurants, a lot of condos now. Now, want to kind of keep your eye open, because up here on the left, there's a condominium building called Park Place. And Elton John actually owns the penthouse up there. But Chris told me this week that it's for sale. So I guess he's going to settle down, in the woods, I guess, back in London. So yeah, even this far up, you have a lot of hospital-related buildings and doctors' offices. We have Peachtree Battle we're coming up on. You know, just like any major city, you have all these nooks and crannies of different kind of neighborhoods. So, and now I see I need to get over one. But I also hear emergency vehicle. Oh, good. They're going south. So we're headed north. This is Peachtree Street. And there's kind of, the road up here is Peachtree Battle because everything's Peachtree something. And it's kind of a joke that, you know, everything's Peachtree. There aren't any peach trees on Peachtree Street, though, that I'm aware of. Hasn't been for years. But yeah, this neighborhood's Peachtree Battles. So you have a lot of mansions. And back there by the hospital, too, back behind there, you have a lot of mansions. This was old wealth. You know, when this was more of a neighborhood back in the day for men and women who owned businesses in Atlanta. And so when they got their wealth, this is where they built their homes. Here and in, you know, all of Buckhead is pretty much a lot of old mansions. And then the people, African American population, they live north of here too. What is now Brookhaven, there's a little neighborhood called Linwood Park. And Linwood Park is where, you know, back in the day where all the maids and landscapers and everyone lived that worked for the wealthy. So over here on the left, I hope you can see it, opposite this other tall building is Elton John's Park Place condominium. Now, Martina Navratilova used to live here too. I don't know if she still does. Of course, Jane Fonda. She still comes and does a lot of stuff in town. I'm going to guess she still has a house here. And I think she and Ted Turner divorced on amicable terms. La Grata, that's one of the kind of more upscale Italian restaurants. It's been here forever. It's supposed to be super romantic and all of that. You have the Catholic Church to the right, Presbyterian up ahead. Is that maybe it's a Episcopalian, because we went to a friend of ours as a Episcopalian minister, and we went to his ceremony up here. So we have lots of churches here. Now traffic looks kind of light, but once I get up to the heart of Buckhead, you'll see it gets pretty busy. It's because it's shift change time with the hospitals. So there's a little backup from that, and just, you know, Atlanta traffic. Like, it'd probably be easier right now at this time to be going on this street than it would be the interstate. So living in Atlanta, as long as I have, you learn the back roads and which are the better ways and worse ways to drive. I mean, now you have Google, but even Chris was complaining about Google the other day because it took him a long time to get home, and but he said, well, Google said that was the fastest way. I was like, well, it probably was at the time. All it takes is one fender bender and you're, you know, backed up pretty far. Have farmers market over here to the left. You have more restaurants and shops. condominiums here on the right. Very Spanish looking design. They've been here a lot of years. Still a Barnes and Noble over here, which is amazing. Now, Grand China used to be further up, but they rebuilt. You can see we're coming into a lot of new buildings. They tore down a lot of blocks over here, and they built all these condos and shops, mainly high-end shops. Over on the left, you might see Truist, and that little building beyond, I thought it was a hotel, like a boutique hotel for a long time. It turns out, because I saw RH, I was like, oh, finally Restoration Hardware, because I needed some towels, and they make really good towels. They're not cheap, but they do last a long time. But yeah, so since they built all these new shops and condos here, Grand China moved. They actually used to be on this corner right past Far here on the right, and they have moved back there to an old house. And the owner of Grand China she's so sweet, and she dresses in ball gowns, and she'll wait tables in her ball gowns. She's so cute. She's so pretty. But I haven't seen her in a long, long time. Yep. The last time I saw her was at Shenyang. If you know anything about Shenyang, or if you ever seen it, it is not a cultural thing so much. It's a religious thing put on by the Falun Gong. There's Shake Shack, a bunch of restaurants back here. But it's a Falun Gong kind of, they're banned in China. Chris calls them the Falun Gong show. So these are all like luxury shops. You have Dior and Louis Vuitton and all this stuff. And it's called Buckhead Village. Now to the left over here is a really cool music venue. It's called the Buckhead Theater, and there are people lined out for tonight's show, so it must be really good, whatever it is. But I can't believe it says Owl City. I don't know if that's tonight. I think so. They have the tour bus out there, and we saw Richard Cheese there, and that was a great show. I saw someone else there. I can't remember who it is now. Have Trader Joe's and some Italian furniture places up here. Lazzoni. There's a club Chris and I used to dance before we dated, but we would be with the same kind of crowd, same AOL group, America Online. So back in the day, that's how we met. But there's this club over here called Hole in the Wall, and it turned out like when we first started going there, he was like, yeah, y'all can come, I'll give you a free keg, and once that keg runs dry, that's it. I'm like, okay. Because I would call these bars and say, hey, we're doing advertising for you online in these chat rooms. What can you do for us? And he'd say, well, tell everybody they get free cover, or I can't believe this fur place is still open. They store furs and all that stuff. But yeah, so I would call these places and I'd say, hey, we're planning an outing there, and they're going to be like, there could be anywhere from, 30 to 100 people there. And we're advertising all week leading up to it, and we'll be talking about it after. What can you do for us? And they'd always do something. It'd be like free cover, or I think I got a case of champagne somewhere once before, and free cover. I mean, they were always really generous, because I'm one. Imagine that. I'm one that I'm just not afraid to ask, and I'm not afraid to do. Like, I will film anywhere. I'm not embarrassed by it. Like, I, if somebody asks me to not film, that's fine. But I'm going to film. I'm going to but I'm not afraid to ask. I'm not afraid of a no. And let that be a life lesson to you, because, I can take a no very easily. But if you don't ask, the answer is no. Like, you have to ask for things you want, whether it's at work or... Get this. I knew people from the Middle East, and they would say, well, I need a washer or something. And I would go with them. They're like, yeah, I'm going to talk them down in price. I'm like, you can't do that. This is a store. It's like Sears or whatever. And they're like, no, I do it all the time. I'm like, this is a regular store. The price is on there. And they're like, watch me. And they would go in there and they would get discounts on appliances and stuff. I was always shocked. I was like, I had just never heard of that. So, yeah. Now you're kind of getting into, there's a little bit of financial stuff going on. You have Fidelity Investments, a few bank corporations. I think Carter's children's clothing corporate office is here. Spanx is on the left, right up here at Piedmont in Tower. I forget the name of the condo in the complex, but I've actually been in the Spanx offices before. That's a whole nother story. This McKay restaurant and bar, that's been there forever. They kind of rebranded, though. I think it was McKinnon's. It was a Louisiana place. They kind of rebranded, and there's a Louisiana Bistro, EAUX, if you make a left here. So I don't know if the competition got to them, so they rebranded. But yeah, this road we're coming up to is Piedmont. And then shortly thereafter is going to be Lenox Square on the right. It's a huge mall. And then on the left, you have Phipps Plaza. Phipps Plaza also has, and Lenox both. So we just passed Dior, Louis Vuitton, all those shops. Well, they're duplicated up here. So you can buy down there, or you can come up here, where they have more shops and everything. But I never understood why they did that, but they did. But Phipps is a little bit nicer mall in that it's like not so busy, not so crowded, not as many stores. But they have Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, other specialty stores, Tommy Bahama's, stuff like that. You have a lot of hotels up here. Now this is interesting. We're going to cross under like all these buildings and everything. Art Smith's restaurant is up here. He was chef to Oprah, and they do a really good Christmas here in the Intercontinental. They do a really good Christmas and Thanksgiving brunch, lunch, dinner thing. But believe it or not, so all these buildings were here, and then they decided to put in this extension to 400. And so there's actually kind of a busy highway. It was toll at one point, and they finally paid it off, so they did away with the toll road. But yeah, it was to get traffic up north into Alpharetta, up towards the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains and everything. So, but yeah, they extended it, and they built it all under these existing massive buildings. Okay, there's Spanx. It's over on the left. It's Tower Place is the name. A lot of places. But yeah, Morris, Manning, and Martin. You have Maggiano's. You have MARTA, the bus service here. Atlanta Financial Center. And then right past here is the malls. And this is also the neighborhood. This is Lenox Square, and then the neighborhood itself is like Lenox everything. I just like this building up here because it looks like a ski lift. There's actually some in the lobby. They have these massive Choluli light fixture. If you don't know who that is, he does these. He's a glass blower, and he does these massive, oddly shaped glass sculptures, and that's what he's known for. So on the outside of Lenox Square Mall here, you have the Cheesecake Factory and Nike that I can see. There's Macy's. I think Macy's is still there. I haven't been in Lenox Square since... Somebody talked me into going darn Thanksgiving. Weekend when all the sales hit because they needed to have their watch battery replaced. I don't like shopping at all, so Lenox was not my thing. I usually do my favorite place to shop is a thrift store. That is where I prefer to shop. Oh, the Ritz-Carlton is now the Whitley. Interesting. Never noticed the signage change. It's not very big. So to the left is Phipps Plaza. So guess who I saw at Phipps Plaza once? I go into Saks Fifth Avenue because I'd never been because, that just didn't me. Oh, St. Celia over to the right. I think that was owned by Deion Sanders. Somebody famous. Anyway, so over here, yeah, Tiffany, Saint Laurent, Tom Ford. You have all those Bottega Veneta, Nordstrom's. That's all over at Phipps as well. You have the best sushi restaurant up here on the left. These are the Ritz-Carlton residences. So they're actually not a hotel, but yes, actually residences with shops and stuff below and restaurants. So that's kind of Buckhead. We're almost into Brookhaven, but what I'll do is, and I'll go back to my story in a minute. I'll take you on a little tour of the mansions up here, because I'm meeting Chris for dinner. Actually, I'm surprised the traffic's not as bad as it was. I actually started in the center and went south and turned around and came back north. And it calmed down quite a bit. This place is a retirement home. They've expanded and gotten massive too. Canterbury Court. So weird. There used to be so many more trees here. But you notice Atlanta has a lot of trees. In fact, you can see how many they've got planted over here again. to the right. They look like apartments, but they're condos. They've been here a long, long, long time. They've been here since the 80s. That's a new kind of Bauhaus style architecture. Interesting. I like the one on the right. It looks like a little Italian villa. It's kind of hard to see. Let me turn you. Ooh, let me turn you a little bit. You can see that way. Some of these out the window. Sorry, the view isn't the best. My little camera thing just snapped off. But hopefully I will not get a ticket here. Oh, it says road closed to through traffic. I'm going to think it always says that. I'm going to pretend like I didn't see the sign. I saw the sign. Anyway, my trip into Saks Fifth Avenue once, I was just like, let me see what's so special about this place. And I kind of was curious about prices and stuff like that. This was all before like computer online stuff, right? Look how beautiful this is. This is my favorite drive in the spring because it is so gorgeous. Even now the azaleas are in bloom, but when the dogwood and the azaleas are in bloom, gorgeous. I would go down there, but yeah, I kind of hit the place where it says, we'll kind of come back here by the country club. Kind of go up a little bit. But, yeah, there's the country club over there. And this is a historic district. A lot of these houses were built in the 1900s, believe it or not. So, there you go. I'm just gonna. Yeah, they were built in the 1900s, and they would have been much smaller then. I've seen through the years where these houses have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's kind of funny. So back to my Saks. So I'm going through Saks, and I go around by like the shoe department. So I wanted to see, like, I do buy high-end shoes because I have terrible feet from my disco years. And I go into the shoe area, and I see all the attendants standing there, stiff as a board, no expression on their face. Even as I walk in, like, okay, maybe I look shabby or whatever, but no smile, greeting, or anything. And I'm just like, what in the heck is going on here? And I look over, and there's the Dalai Lama trying on shoes. Now, what was funny about that is that all the monks at the temple that he visited, he comes here and does stuff at Emory sometimes, and Richard Gere comes into town, and it's a big to-do. I think Jimmy Carter's done some stuff with them over at Emory. But the monks at the little monastery and stuff, temple, like, they don't wear shoes. Like, I've seen them out walking barefoot in the wintertime. It's so weird. And I'm thinking, and here he is, he's got his limo waiting while, he's getting his shoes done. It's been a long time since I've been back here this way. But yeah, Atlanta's just so beautiful. It just really is, with all the trees. And I heard they're going to plant about 30,000 more trees because the I'm never going to be able to make a left here. I'm just going to go up. I know where I'm going to go now. But the thing with Atlanta is they're going to do these 300,000, 30,000 more trees, something like that. but they're going to plant them in neighborhoods with a lot of old homes closer to the city, like downtown part of the city. Because Midtown and Buckhead, this area of Atlanta, have a lot of trees. Down south of Atlanta, not so much. So they're going to add a bunch of trees down there, and in hopes of saving energy on a lot of those old homes. Shade it from the heat, and I guess that will all be strategic so that it'll be on the south side. A lot of south side plantings where they can. So, yeah, this is way better. John Park, I see he's running for commissioner again. Swan Coach House Flea Market. Swan Coach House is supposed to be fancy schmancy too. I guess they're having a flea market September 21st and 22nd. That's this weekend. They're going to have a lot of high-end stuff there. I don't know. That's interesting. Very interesting. Straight ahead is the Brookhaven MARTA station. That's where I used to take the train. No, I'd take the bus from here. So I would take the train from down near the airport all the way up here and then get on my bus to go to work. And I loved that. I loved riding public transport because it left me, saved a lot of wear, tear, and gas. And when I got to work, I could read a book or meditate, like just kind of chill. It wasn't all this stress from being in traffic or, stop and go traffic. There's a lot of that in Atlanta. But yeah, I didn't have to get on the interstates and do any of that. So I love MARTA transportation. It's generally pretty clean. Never had any problems riding the trains or buses. I had a guy write a song for me on the spot on MARTA. You can find him on YouTube. His name, the One-Eyed Blues Man. If you look him up, he's been around Atlanta. I was down in Atlanta doing photography. I may have told this story before. I was doing photography and kind of came across him on the train, and I got so involved with him, I ended up missing my stop. But, he was asking people for money. I didn't have money, but I had those hand warmers, and it was around Christmas time. I had gone downtown just to do some photography, night photography. And I had my camera, is about it. So I gave him the hand warmers that I had, and he loved it. So he wrote a song for me. And I think he plays, if he's still around, he plays at the 5 and 10. That's a Chick-fil-A now. Huh. Well, I tell you, if you don't come down Atlanta for a minute, things change quick. Wow, shocking. It was a sports bar for the longest time. A Waffle House over there, that's been there forever. You see it over there. I mean, maybe from the 70s? I don't know. It was here when I lived here in the 80s. So we're kind of, Buckhead, Peachtree Street runs kind of parallel to Buford Highway. And I've done a ride down Buford Highway before. So, kind of runs parallel. But these are the high-end restaurants. I like the other restaurants on the other side. In fact, that's why I'm eating. Chris and I are going to have Desta Ethiopian food tonight. We haven't eaten there in a long time. And they have such good food. And I will put a video on that as well. I may not do it for a couple of days though. There we go. Lot 5 closed. This area is built up a lot. Condos and restaurants and shops, and it's really crazy. This is kind of boring, so this is where I'm going to end my video. Thanks for riding along with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Give you a little bit better idea of what the lay of the land is here in Atlanta. Like, you know, downtown sprawls all the way up north. So, it is a busy city. And I do love it here. Even with the traffic. But you could see, like, that was 4:30 traffic. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. So, going through the heart of Buckhead. So, I guess the police are out for us. Oh, I guess for the construction over here. All right. So y'all take care. We'll see you later. Love you. Bye.